Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for April. I'm Joanne Williams. August Wilson's Pulitzer Prize-nominated play, Two Trains Running, comes to the Milwaukee repertory this month. We'll talk with two Milwaukeeans who are in that cast. Lots of people are commemorating this year as the 400th anniversary of enslaved Africans arriving in North America. Dr. Rob Smith explains why remembering that is important. April is National Minority Health Awareness Month. In a few minutes, we'll preview the All of Us research project. It invites you to help in the prevention and treatment of a variety of health conditions. But first, here's a profile of a healthcare worker, a trailblazing Milwaukee woman who spent dozens of years helping the sick and injured at Mount Sinai Hospital.
But it was a nursing song for us.
Okay.
Because we were going to be nurses.
Okay, so let's hear it.
I don't need to sing songs.
Go ahead.
I dedicate myself today to those who need my tender care. And so I lift the cross that others bear. And da 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 da. I'm sorry. It's been 65 years ago. I have to think about that.
Delores Nicholson Wilkins was surprised she could remember that much of the song the nursing students sang when they were in school in the 1940s. But she clearly remembers being the first African-American graduate of Mount Sinai Hospital's nursing school. That was in 1950. When you went to nursing school, were you the only African-American in class?
I was. And not only that, in all the other schools, there were no other African Americans. I applied at 3 different schools, and I was accepted at Marquette, and I was accepted at Deaconess, at the time it was Deaconess Hospital, if I could find another minority student to go with me. And my mother said, why does she have to have another? I said, well, we don't want her to be lonesome.
What did they mean by that?
Well, if I was going to be the only minority there, I guess they thought I wouldn't have any friends. That's as near as I can figure.
But she did not get lonesome. In fact, she learned how to adapt to the circumstances.
All through school, I didn't ever feel that I was being left out because I was an African American. At the time, we were Negroes. And I went to their homes when we'd go home weekends. They said, oh, come on, Dolores, come with us, come with us. And so I didn't feel any outward discrimination from the students. Our class continued to visit after we graduated for years. We'd take trips together and whatnot. And one of my classmates said to me, hey, Nick, I was Nicholson, remember when we were working at Children's Hospital? And I said, yeah, it was hard there. We had to make our own Q-tips. We had to do this and had to hold a 2-year. Oh, that was something off. She said, yes. And remember that time I told you one time they got us working like the N-word? And I don't even remember it. But all these years, she had carried that thought, and I don't even remember she said it.
Delores attended North Division High School in Milwaukee. She played in the bands, even worked on the school paper. She studied science and math, but didn't know what she wanted to do after high school. In the late 40s and 1950, how many options for professions were there for black women?
Well, I don't know. Most of the people that I knew were either social workers or teachers.
How many other nurses did you know at the time?
None.
Her father came up with an option.
That's a God-given decision. My dad came home from work one time. He worked at L. Smith, and he says, hey, you know what? A man at work told me, he said, if you've got a daughter, she can be a nurse in 3 years and she can make good money. I said, Dad, I said, okay, I'll be a nurse.
Our visit to what is now Aurora Sinai Medical Center in downtown Milwaukee brought back more memories. I know you're going to recognize something here. What's this?
Well, that's the dorm when we moved in. And my room was this room right here by that window. I was by the balcony.
You got a balcony?
Yeah, I told you everybody complained because I had a private room. There was only 2 private rooms up there. This is Emma Felder. She was an X-ray technician.
She has slowed down as she faces her 90th birthday, but she still practices her skills as a parish nurse at Calvary Baptist Church.
Well, it depends on which parish you're in. You look and see what the people in that particular parish could use, and then there's no set program in each parish that you work. You're supposed to know the parish and what fits their needs the best. So we've had health fairs, and we've had speakers, and we've had diet programs, and I'm really pleased with one of the diet programs because I had a folder, and every so many weeks I'd give them a new page to put in their folder, and the children said, well, we want one too. So we had a chance to get our children involved in healthy diets.
So how many minutes did you do this week?
I did 35.
35. Nice job.
I usually try to get 4 or 5 fruits and vegetables in. Before I go to exercise or anytime, I have my yogurt, and then I have a half a banana every day. I only have a half because I'm cutting calories, and 4 ounces of juice. And then I can go and start my exercise.
Small steps, control it.
And after that?
Take a nap first.
Looking back, if you had it to do it again, social worker, teacher, nurse, would you still be a nurse?
I would. Why? Nursing has served me very well. I have had a wonderful life, and a lot of it was because I was a nurse. And as a nurse, I was able to help other people understand their own health situations.
In the 1950s, there were few professional role models for black girls to look up to in Milwaukee. Teachers, secretaries, social workers, and a nurse. Delores Nicholson Wilkins.
This is the Amazing Grace Chorus. It's a group of Alzheimer's patients and their caregivers.
This is the therapy for memory loss. And we just see the interactions take on a whole new life with all of the participants.
And this is Dry Hooch. It's a veterans organization helping veterans and their families who survived the war, survive the peace.
We're peer support. That's what Dry Hooch's mission really is, providing peer support for veterans in transition, wherever that transition may be.
Both projects serve diverse and underrepresented groups and are affiliated with the Medical College of Wisconsin. Both have health officials who support the All of Us project. It's a research initiative of the National Institutes of Health.
Meet Ray. Ray lives on a farm. He loves playing kickball with his grandkids, but lately he's gotten a little slower and been visiting the doctor a lot more often. This is Kim. Kim lives in the city. She loves to exercise, cook healthy meals, and can't remember the last time she called in sick. They're both people. But not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better, until now. Enter All of Us, the research program based on precision medicine. Precision medicine is a revolutionary new approach to treating and preventing disease that's personalized, instead of one size fits all. By gathering health data from 1 million people like Ray and Kim and Trevor and Samir, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are.
Whereas we know in times past there have been several research initiatives that have been launched for the purpose of improving health outcomes, and quite frankly, there just has not been enough of African-Americans, underrepresented groups, the Latinx community, or just under lower socioeconomics, just disparate groups have not been afforded opportunities to actually participate in research, which as a result, despite the best efforts, especially when it comes to healthcare, we've still had this cookie cutter approach because we just don't have enough diverse data to actually help us to improve care and support for underrepresented groups. And so it's really important, quite frankly, that we are involved in this.
That all of us from the get-go is saying, in the past we've left people behind. We've left people out of biomedical research, and by not having data about that particular group of people, we're not able to serve them as effectively as we can. And that's why we have disparities in healthcare, right? That's why we have disparities in outcomes. And so we actually need to have a sample from every different segment of the American society to ensure that we don't have that same problem in the future.
The data that we collect will not necessarily impact us today, tomorrow, but in the years to come. The hope is that, of course, we will be able to identify some of even what we know now are risk factors, but we will maybe be able to identify those in another manner, which will help us find cures. It will help us to find prevention, those type of things for our Alzheimer's patients and our Alzheimer's families.
And some of the payoffs are going to be, 25 years down the line. It might not impact me, but it might impact my grandchildren. And that's a huge, huge payoff when you think about it that way.
There is more information about the All of Us Project on our website, MilwaukeePBS.org. You will also find the full Dry Hooch video and the Black Nouveau segment on the Amazing Grace Chorus. This year marks the 400th anniversary of the first enslaved Africans being brought to North America. In 1619, 20 Africans were brought to Jamestown, Virginia. But slavery in North America started a century earlier. Dr. Rod Smith joins us to help us sort out this history and explain why it matters. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, James.
So, why does it matter?
I think the first thing to say, the first place to start, is that the arrival of Europeans, the arrival of the many Africans from various nation states of many ethnicities, significantly altered the trajectory of the cultures of indigenous people across the Americas. And I think that we have to begin with that conversation first, and that's really critical. It's also important because slavery was, in many respects, what we would call a system of globalization today, is how we would frame it. It was a global enterprise. The Atlantic community, the Atlantic economic community became a very sophisticated set of economic exchanges where people, human beings, were the prized commodity. And also, it gives us the proliferation of the African diaspora in very significant ways. Brazil, the Caribbean, various parts of Central America, and then ultimately the United States. Africans become a central, of central importance to the future of these areas of the Americas, both North and South, and then Central America as well. So those experiences beginning in the 1500s and the 16th century, and we date the first arrival of Africans or African descendant people to Jamestown in 1619, this process very significantly changes and alters and moves the trajectory of not only the West, but the world entirely in ways that folks probably hadn't imagined in that moment.
So how do you calculate it? How did you come up with the time when they first arrived?
Well, there's a historic document. There's a historic document, January 1619. We're sitting just almost to the day 400 years later. Mm-hmm. And in this document, it references livestock. It references a whole range of other commodities. And then in a somewhat sort of almost offhanded way, it says, oh, and there are these 20 and odd black people. Obviously, that's the Negroes, or some version of that term is what was used. And yet it's the presence of these 20 black people does not seem particularly remarkable in the way that the document reads, which tells us a couple of things. One, black people in and around the Atlantic, and if we put the southeast of the United States in the Atlantic, in the Atlantic community that we think of as the Caribbean, their presence was not a surprise. Their presence wasn't something that drew a lot of attention. If we use this document as a way of understanding its significance. Just south there in Florida, we know that there had been a Spanish presence for some time. And so if we go across the Caribbean, we see the French, the Spanish, move farther south into Brazil and other places. We see the presence of the Portuguese. These areas had already really installed the system of slavery, of African-based slavery, really much earlier than what becomes this British mainland North American experience that then grows into what becomes the United States. And so that moment in 1619 sets in motion what will become the experience of slavery in the mainland colonies of North America that becomes the United States.
So slavery really wasn't that long ago. Meaning,
no, not at all.
So explain how it really wasn't that long ago.
Well, let's think about the date 1619. First, those first black people arrived probably not as enslaved people. They probably had a status more closer to indentured servants or something of that nature. They were probably also very sophisticated culturally.
So it wasn't the slavery we traditionally think of?
Absolutely not. No, in 1619, we had individuals, those first 20 folks arrived, they probably were very much aware of a number of European communities. They were probably aware of a wide array of African ethnicities and nation states. They probably spoke multiple languages. They might have even been mixed race. You know, they probably were a part of this Atlantic experience, this Atlantic community that begins on the west coast of Africa, and over that 100 or so years prior to 1619 sort of migrates to what we think of as the Caribbean, and then moves into the British mainland North American experience. And so the 1619 moment is critical because it tells us that these first folks were not enslaved people. The system of slavery really gets entrenched in the 1660s, 1670s. Virginia teaches the rest of these colonies how to create a system of slavery and codify a system of human indignities that we then come to understand as race-based slavery. But those early, the first few decades, those first couple of generations of folks who are coming to Jamestown and Virginia and these other burgeoning colonies, they were probably not slaves. That system was sculpted and created and codified in the late 17th century and then moving into the 1700s. So by the time we get to the Revolutionary period, the Revolutionary War era, slavery in what becomes the United States had been entrenched for almost a century by then. So the dichotomy of a nation being built or formed around principles like liberty and freedom, and yet it has this clear system of human bondage, it sounds crazy in our minds today, but at the time, slavery was such a part of the burgeoning of the United States that it made sense to create a nation with these ideals and at the same time keep humans enslaved. It was part and parcel to what we come to understand as American. We recognize it in the United States Constitution, in fact. So there's at least 115 to 20 year window where slavery had been codified before the nation is created and organized. And then throughout the first half there of the 19th century up into the Civil War, we know that the institution of slavery was central to the United States. And so we're really looking at a 200-year window where slavery is firmly entrenched in the United States before it's eradicated. Then we get into the era of Jim Crow.
Exactly.
You know, and so we are a nation that has been either committed to the enslavement of people or the whole debasement of people of African descent longer than we've been a so-called equal nation or racially equal nation.
Can you talk a little bit about how enslaved people were valued? Because you hear different ways of how they place value on us.
Well, I think value, we first have to move into the very dehumanizing conversation of people as commodities, people as property. The legal system that undergirded slavery created an environment where human beings were property. Mm-hmm. And your property, you can do whatever you want to do with. Your property, you can destroy it if you choose to. In fact, there are slave codes that read almost verbatim to that language that will surely an owner would never destroy his or her property unless he or she felt fit to do so. The codification of these human indignities led to the control of people's mobility. It led to the control of people's reproductive options. It led to the control of basic things like marrying who you want to marry and loving who you want to love. And so the system itself, because it was legal, made it all the more gruesome. And because, you know, when you put something in law, James, it gives it this veneer of legitimacy. And over several hundred years, when a legal system has been constructed around the debasement of human beings and to move them into the realm of property, of commodities, that allows for a set of atrocities that is hard to imagine. But the slave codes tell the story.
Thanks a lot for coming.
Glad to be here always.
There are few events in American history as important and as misunderstood as Reconstruction, that period of time right after America's Civil War. This month, Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. hosts a documentary series examining the issues that still affect us today.
From Henry Louis Gates Jr.
Following the Civil War, Reconstruction is a story of great expectations, enormous strides, and wrenching retreats.
Stories of triumph.
You see all of these black people in charge.
And backlash.
Violence is efficient, it's easy.
After 150 years, our past still affects us today. Reconstruction, America After the Civil War. Tune in or stream Tuesday, April 9th at 9/8 Central, only on PBS.
I ain't do nothing but walk down the street. I'm walking down Center Avenue, and the police was chasing somebody and wasn't looking where he was going. I wasn't looking where I was going either. Hit me so hard it knocked us both down. I started to get up. I had 2-3 police pointing their guns at my head.
This is a scene from August Wilson's Two Trains Running. It is the 7th play in his American Century cycle and takes place in a diner in the Hill District of Pittsburgh. 7 ordinary people are trying to survive in the midst of the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Memphis is the owner of the diner.
I didn't know nobody, nothing. The last person I owed something to was gone.
It's 1969 in Pittsburgh, and you have these 7 individuals who are all in transition. The city is tearing buildings down. They have eminent domain. We don't know what they're building, but they're forcing Memphis out of its building. Mr. West, the funeral owner, they're taking him out of his building. So all of these changes, and it's how do we adapt?
I found a quarter on the 4th floor of my house and played folk 25. That didn't work. Now I'm counting cars. I count all the Buicks I see and play that with all the Cadillacs and Fords I see. If I had me a telephone number, I'd play that.
I don't know why people waste their time playing numbers. That 25 cents you found is 25 cents you could have had. Play the jukebox or something.
I'm trying to get $2,500.
Malkia Stampley is Risa, the only woman in the cast, and she has physical scars that she gave herself.
I like to think of Risa as this extraordinary being who is demanding respect and who is demanding equality amongst all the men that she's around. And not only does she cut herself, what's typical with people who cut themselves is that they hide it, and that most people don't know that they do it. But she shows it, and it's almost a demand that you look at me as a person.
Chike Johnson, her husband in real life, is Sterling, who wants to be more than a friend to her.
Yes, I play Sterling Johnson, who is a recently released con, who is basically trying to find this place in this world, in this town.
What's the play about for you?
What it's like to be an outcast, especially for Sterling, trying to make your way in a world that is brushed you aside, and how to do that, how to reclaim a place and reclaim your own little spot in the world when people look at you as the other.
While both have been seen on local stages, they also perform nationally and internationally, as well as in commercial films and television. Two Trains Running is a new experience for them.
This is our second time working in a production together, but this is our first time talking to each other. Yeah. We did Christmas Carol at Milwaukee Rep in 2015, and we just didn't have any scenes together. And so this time, not only do we get to talk to each other, but we get to play opposite each other, and we talk a lot to each other.
This is a co-production between the Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park and the Milwaukee Rep. The Playhouse ran the show in March. The Rep begins its run on April 16th.
I love co-productions. It keeps you employed longer. That's one of the major things. But it's always fun to travel. You know, we did a co-production of Mice and Men, and we took that from Milwaukee and went to Arizona, and it was great because it was in the middle of the winter, and I got to leave Milwaukee and go out to Arizona where the weather was wonderful. I love the idea of living with a show for a while. You know, the rehearsal process for a lot of shows now are shrinking. You have a 3-week rehearsal process, and you're in the theater by the 4th week, you know, getting ready to show it to people, to the community. And to be able to live with a character a little bit longer, it just helps you deepen, you know, what you've built.
The couple also has nothing but praise for the production team and especially the cast.
You don't always run into a cast that you immediately feel like they're family, but these group of guys, they're amazing. They're amazing people, and to work with them has been a sheer blessing.
Absolutely, they are really talented. All of them have long history with August Wilson pieces, and this is our first August Wilson piece. And then for it to be together was special, but then to realize, oh, we're the rookies in the group, it made it even more of an exciting journey because they just embraced us, really embraced us.
United we stand. Come on. Come on now. First, I say it, then you say it. United we stand.
United we stand.
Divided we fall.
Divided we fall.
Yeah, that's right. See, you got it. United we stand, divided we fall.
We note the passing of Gwen Jackson, a pillar of Milwaukee's African-American community. Gwen Jackson worked and volunteered for the American Red Cross, the YWCA, and the United Way. We'll remember her on our next program, which airs on May 2nd at 7:30 here on Milwaukee PBS. And that's our program for this month. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching.